Now, the West African Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination, WASSCE, has begun today, July 20, 2020. It commences amid concerns about health protocols in place to ensure containment of the spread of the novel coronavirus. A total of 313,837 SHS finalists are sitting the exam today across Ghana. The timetable, which was submitted to the Ministry of Education, indicates that the examination will begin today with project work for visual arts students, while the theory papers will start from August 3, 2020 until September 5, 2020, when the examination will be brought to an end with principles of cost accounting and technical drawing. Right. We'll bring you some details of this examination. But first, we know that about 60 subjects made up of 4 core and 56 elective subjects have been made available to all the candidates, and it will last for a period of 5 weeks. Agnes Kujo is the head of public affairs at WAEC.
Today's paper is mainly for the candidates who are pursuing visual art. So it's a visual art project work that is being done by about 5,380 candidates. What we are started with today is what we call the idea development or planning for the actual project work. So the questions were given to them about 2 weeks ago. So today they are planning for the project work that will take place from tomorrow. We have some candidates who are offering basketry, jewelry, leather work, sculpture, and all that. So today they are sketching and planning the execution of the actual project work.
So have you visited any of these centers today?
Yes, we were next door, Accra High, and there at that center we had a total number of 44 candidates, 45 candidates to see paper with 2 absences. At the Accra High, we were working on leather work and culture.
For those students who may test positive for COVID-19, but they are candidates for WASSCE, what happens to them?
Well, unfortunately, any candidate who tests positive and is on isolation or cannot take any of the papers will have to take advantage of the next edition of the examination, that is in November. You know, we have a policy, an already existing policy, that we don't administer examinations at hospitals. So if for one reason or the other, a candidate is unable to write a paper at all, you know, then the candidate will have to take advantage of the next edition of the examination. However, if you have a candidate who comes to the examination hall and takes, let's say, English paper 2, which is a morning paper, and then maybe the candidate develops some illness or sickness and cannot write the paper, we can put in place the clemency protocols that we have.
Right.
But if it's unable to take a paper at all for one day or a number of days, we have advantage of the edition of the examination.
That was Agnes Kujo. Now, Kofi Asare is Executive Director for Africa Education Watch, an education NGO which is calling for a review of the WASSCE timetable. Mr. Asare, it looks like your call was ignored. WASSCE began today.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your cherished audience. Our call was specific to the examination papers to be written on the 5th of September. Specifically, principles of financial accounting, and then cost accounting. And so it is not about today's paper. It's actually the last paper to be written. And the issue is that business students will have to sit for 6.5 hours from 8:30 to 4:30 on that day. 6.5 hours of examination assessment is not consistent with international benchmarks. And so we were approached by the students and also by the Business Education Teachers Association and that's a group of teachers who teach business subjects in senior high schools. And then we decided to together with them petition WAEC. We've been engaging WAEC for the past 2 weeks. I'm talking about the teachers themselves on this issue. But we had to go public yesterday because the results were not forthcoming. But today we have heard WAEC indicating that they are forwarding our petition to the examination subcommittee for possible action. And so we are hoping that a review of that particular paper, which is on the 5th of September, is done. It will only take the postponement of the second paper, which is from 2 p.m. to 4:30, to the next day, and that's it.
Right, so what you're asking for is for the second paper to be postponed to the next day.
Exactly, the second paper is supposed to be done from, I think, 2 o'clock, from 1:30 to 4:30. It's 3 hours. It's a Saturday. And so we are proposing that if it's possible, that paper should be postponed to the Sunday in the morning so that by 12 o'clock, the children are done and then they can go home. That is the last paper. And so those who wait on campuses to write that paper will be only the business students. It is very important because WAEC don't normally organize 2 elective subjects in a day. It will either be an elective subject for a science student and another elective subject for a business student. But you will not have one student doing 2 elective subjects in a day. It is uncommon. And so the stress levels are higher because these are 2 elective subjects for business students. And that is why the concern came from the students and their teachers, for which we are supporting a review of the timetable.
Right. Now, how practical is this logistically? Because, of course, it just seems like a paper is going to be shifted to another day. But already, government has released 70 million Ghana cedis to schools to cover these exams. We are going to have to keep students for another day. That means they are going to have to be fed. I'm talking about students across the country. So, and it's a Sunday, which conventionally doesn't often happen. So it might have to be moved to a Monday. How practical is this request you've made?
Well, if you look at the cost of doing this, then I would rather tell you that we budgeted for keeping about 1.2 million children in school from March till December. And we have a situation where COVID has intervened. And so we are spending less on feeding, spending less on other recurrent expenses because about 70% of the children have been at home since March. And so when it comes to resources, there shouldn't be an issue. We are actually making huge savings in view of children being at home. And so an extra day in school for only business students shouldn't be an issue. That's less than about 70,000 or so. It shouldn't be an issue. The second issue is that this is a Ghana examination. Nigeria has pulled out. Liberia is still sitting on the fence. They haven't joined yet. And Gambia is also not joined yet. They're still not reopening schools. And so basically, Sierra Leone only reopened school 2 weeks ago. And so they don't have timetable for Sierra Leone. Ghana is the only country that has gotten to the point of having a timetable. So we are talking about a Ghana-only timetable here. It's not a West African thing, which will cause derailment or this will more or less cause some changes to be done at the sub-regional level. No, it is only a Ghana timetable. And so having this change will not be too much of an issue.
Right.
Ultimately, our children are those who stand to benefit because when you assess a child for 6.5 hours, you are actually putting more stress on the child than, in effect, assessing the child on the merit of their own academic prowess or academic their competency levels or their level of academic attainment.
I simply wanted to draw your attention to a point you raised earlier, which was on the savings that will be done on the educational level. But we know that COVID-19 has taken out 11.4 billion Ghana cedis as far as our budget is concerned. And it's this same money which needs to be managed to put students back in school and also to provide reliefs for private businessmen. It's generally a very stretched budget we are dealing with. So it may not exactly be fair to say that we've already saved money because students were not supposed to be in school, right?
Well, the point I'm making is that the cost of stressing students to the extent that they wouldn't be able to come to the show when it comes to the examination day because they will not be able to put up their best, which may culminate in a bad performance. That cost is higher than the cost of feeding children for just one day. That's all I wanted to say.
Right.
But we don't have resource constraints that should necessitate this discussion because, as I'm saying, we have a budget to keep 1.2 million children in school for the whole of this year, about 180 schooling days this year for the 2 semesters. But we spent most of the time at home. And so we have made savings. That's the point I'm making. And so the issue of finding money to feed about a quarter of the students who are writing examination, business students alone, for just one day shouldn't be an excuse not to reasonably space the final paper for us to get a good result of our assessment of our own children. Bear in mind that WAEC is a contractor. GOG has engaged WAEC to assess their students for them. And so GOG has an upper hand in all this, not WAEC. And we expect the GES to actually lead in this engagement because GES will be the first person to trumpet achievement when we record a very good result from this WAEC.
Right. Thank you very much, Kofi Asare, for joining us. He's with Africa Education Watch. Now, in the northern region, there are 40 students who are sitting for the first paper at the Tamale Senior High School, Tamasco. The assistant headmistress in charge of academics, Nimoni Celestine, told JoyNews the students are well prepared for the examination.
We spoke to them last week. We have prepared them psychologically, asked them to go all out for the exams in the midst of the convicts. We have a vertical bucket even at their classroom before the start of the exams. Soap and water. Also giving them sanitizers to sanitize their hands and wash their hands alongside with the exams. So all is at the exam center.
Now, you spoke of having talked to them. When you say you've spoken to them, what did you tell them exactly?
You know, because of the pandemic, we try to remove some fears in them. Even though they are healthy, we ask them that it's normal. They have not studied much. They have stayed in the house for long. But when they came, we have classes to up to Friday to prepare them for the exam because of the days they have lost in the house. So we've spoken to them to be courageous, to take the exam as a normal class exams so they can pass and fly colors.
How was their reaction?
Concerning the exams?
Yes.
They were happy. They know they were written this exam long time. They would have finished school waiting for their results to go to tertiary. And because of the pandemic, they stayed at home. So they're anxious to write the exams and finish school.
Some of the candidates expressed their excitement with JoyNews before sitting for their paper.
In fact, it was not even in the house when we are in the house, but the latest time or the little time I'll make sure that I learn something before I sleep. When I'm going to sleep, I know that the next day I'll be writing exams or I'll be doing it. So I make anything possible to make a question or to solve something before I go to bed.
How do you feel now that the exams is here?
I feel happy because I know very soon I'll be completing, and not just a matter of completing, but I'll be moving out of school, and I know by God's grace I'll pass the exams. So I am happy of myself, and I feel happy.
How do you feel now that the exams is here?
I'm very, very happy. I'm very, very happy. I couldn't even sleep very well because I thought we would have gone home again. Thank God that today we are about to start the exams.
What are you looking ahead to? What are you looking ahead to?
What I'm looking ahead is we'll be able to finish our exams successfully.